not necessarily.
All right, thank you for staying with us. You're watching Daybreak on Trust TV. Time for us to take a look at the stories on the front pages of our newspapers this morning. And we'll begin with the Daily Trust newspaper, where you have the lead story there. Talk about, diphtheria. It says, experts decry government inaction as diphtheria spreads to 18 states. It has the riders that says, Kano leads as disease kills 453. Infects 7,202. Improved measures key to ending scourge. You'd find all the details on page 4. Now, in other stories, you have above the lead story, 39,526 pending cases at appeal court, says Justice Dongba Mensem. Also, Customs intensifies action to contain illegal wildlife trade on page 3. INEC to hold mock accreditation in Kogi, Imo, Bayelsa. Now, beside the pictorial, FG opts for low-key independence anniversary cites economic realities on page 5. You also have Senate screens Cardoso, other CBN nominees today. You find the details on page 27. Gunmen kidnap Benue Commissioner, ex-local government chair on page 6. These are the main stories on the Daily Trust front page.
All right, let's take a look at the Independent this morning. The Daily Independent says from the top of the page there, Ondo Deputy Governor heads to court to halt impeachment proceedings, and Speaker raises the alarm over threat on his life. Beside that, you'd see, I inherited empty treasury from my predecessor. That's according to Taraba State Governor. You find this story on page 23 of the newspaper. The major story there says, fuel subsidy crisis, NLC takes final decision on indefinite strike today. The riders there says, again, Lalong begs Labour not to paralyze the economy and says the federal government has already resolved one of their demands. Below that, we see we have 39,526 pending cases. Appeal court precedent cries out. You find this on page 29. The TUC protest takeover of Lagos parks and prescription of the RTEAN. You find this on page 7. Voice data services may be disrupted as states threaten shutdown of telcos base stations. You find this on page 29. Wi-Fi gutted the Supreme Court building, according to the spokesman. Says it didn't affect the presidential election petitions materials. You find this on page 6. Tribunal affirm that Sanwo-Olu's re-election and victory is for all, says Sanwo-Olu. You find this on page 6. There's a pictorial of protest against the Lagos state government there. Below the pictorial, it says Nigeria records 7,202 diphtheria cases, 453 deaths in 18 states, including the FCT. And the Guba poll INEC to conduct mock accreditation of voters in Bayelsa, Imo, and Kogi. Now, all these stories and more you'll find on the Daily Independent this morning.
All right. Now, let's take a look at the People's Daily. Today, the lead story there says, ahead November 11 Guba polls. INEC holds mock accreditation in Bayelsa, Kogi, Imo, October 14. To test run Beaver's IRF portal functionality. You have also above the lead story, Senate may shift resumption to second week in October. PDP demands full-scale probe of Supreme Court fire outbreak. And then Nigeria's problem is failure of leadership, says ACF chair. Well, these are the main stories on the People's Daily today.
Okay, let's take a look at the blueprint this morning. The major story there says, appeal court at annual legal year. We got 813 petitions from party primaries, 1,209 for 98 tribunals. The writers there says appropriate living budget for judiciary. The CGN tells the NAS. Fagbemi cautions on threats to judges and fire guards Supreme Court. You find this story on page 5 and 6 of the newspaper. Below the mass there, we have Guba. INEC conducts mock accreditation in Bayelsa, Imo, and Kogi. The federal government announces low-key 63rd independence celebration. Diphtheria, Nigeria recorded 453 deaths, 7,202 cases, according to federal government. We have First Bank committed to Africans' economic transformation. That's according to Adedum Tan. Below there, we see a pictorial of the FCT minister and other people there. So below the pictorial, we have gunmen abduct Benue Commissioner ex-Zaki Biam council boss. You find this on page 8. Sanwo-Olu floors PDP at tribunal. Customs FOUC intercepts 1.6 billion naira hard drugs, the IED materials. You find this on page 23. At the bottom there, we see Edo Ondo saga. Renounce your Guba ambition or face the consequences. Obaseki tells Shaibu. Ayedatiwa runs to court over planned impeachment. My life is in danger, Ondo speaker cries out. Now, these are some of the stories on the Blueprint newspaper.
All right. Now, on the Guardian newspaper, the lead story, it says Cardoso faces Senate under FX pressure, loss of confidence. You have some more details there on the infograph, and also Nigeria to reduce oil sector's contracting cycle to 6 months. Ondo deputy governor approaches court to stop impeachment. Nigeria records 7,202 diphtheria cases, 453 deaths. Labour to declare indefinite strike, mobilizes state councils for shutdown. You have court dismisses PDP, Labour's petitions against Sanwo-Olu Hamzat. East-West road still abandoned, hellish 17 years on. So these are the stories on The Guardian this morning.
Let's take a look at the Nigerian Tribune. From the top of the page, diphtheria spreads across 105 local government areas in 18 states and kills 453 children. Nominations open for 2023 Obafemi Awolowo. Okay, that's according to the Leadership Prize. Below the master, we see the federal government, Zamfara governor trade words over negotiation with bandits. The varsity confirms rescue of 13 students and 3 others. Well, that's a good news there. Police arrest impeached Ogun local government boss at Didayo. You'll find all the stories on page 25 and 29 of the Nigerian Tribune. The major story says, twist in Akeredolu deputy feud. And it comes with a lot of riders of Assembly Speaker releases or raises alarm over threat of life and says sacrifice placed near his lodge. The deputy governor heads to court, seeks injunction against removal of assembly. We have served deputy governor removal notice. That's according to the assembly. And assembly orders chief judge to constitute panel to investigate Ayedatiwa. You find this on page 16 of the newspaper. The fire guard section of Supreme Court, the PDP demands investigation. You find this on page 25. Police confirm arrest of 19 suspected cultists in Ogun. You find this on page 14. Tribunal upholds Sanwo-Olu's victory and dismisses the PDP and LP's petition. And bridges collapses on Enugu-Port Harcourt Expressway. These are some of the stories on Tribune.
All right. Now, the Punch newspaper this morning, the lead story there, it says Tinubu reviews document as CBN investigator submits interim report. Nigerians will know what really went wrong and what brought us down, SGF. CBN, special investigator, continuous audit, FG links nation's woes to bad governance. You have above the masthead there, strike. Labour accuses FG of delay. NLC Exco meets today. Vandals destroy 108 transmission towers. FG alleges sabotage. You have Senate screens CBN Governor Cardoso, deputies today. Also, NYG athletes lament poor conditions and maltreatment. You have also Jandor kicks as tribunal dismisses PDP LP petitions against Sanwo-Olu. Police arrest suspected Shagamu cult leader, 18 others. Impeachment. Aiyedatiwa sues Ondo Assembly. Speaker alleges threat to life. So these are the main stories on the Punch newspaper this morning.
The front page of The Nation carries tribunal win victory for all, Sanwo-Olu tells Lagosians. 98 Court of Appeal panels sitting on 1,209 post petition. Access Holdings post 940.3 billion naira gross earnings in the H1. The Aiyedatiwa filed suit to halt impeachment. You find this on page 4, 5, 7, and 5 respectively. Below the buzzer, it says Obi distances himself from violence calls and major bridge collapses in Enugu. The probe report will expose rot in CBN, says the federal government. Now that's the lead story on The Nation, says Cardoso. Deputies face Senate screening today. At the middle there, we see the government and entities, workers with wage award to stop strike. And Lalong gives us more time. That's according to Lalong there. The dams disaster, 16 charged to court. Niger junta okays French withdrawal, and Mali junta shifts election. At the bottom there, we see Loma Shots Market. Tomorrow is Eid Maulud holiday. Now, these are some of the stories on The Nation this morning.
All right, so these are the stories on the front pages of our newspapers this morning, quite a number of them. And some are, well, a bit controversial. And for instance, if you take a look at the statement coming from the All Progressives Congress saying that Tinubu has not reintroduced fuel subsidy. And that's one story that a lot of people have been reacting to since it was made. People, especially with the reports that we saw some days ago about some technical payment of fuel subsidy, because if you think about it, people are saying, well, how is it that the price of the dollar has gone as high as we're having now, about 1,000 naira, and the price of global crude oil has also increased, and then we are still buying fuel at the rate of 617 naira, the same amount as some 2 or 3 months ago now, with the removal of this fuel subsidy. Ordinarily, it should have gone higher. And some are saying, well, the actual amount of petrol now internationally, if we are to go by, the payment, if we are to go by, the removal of the subsidy, we should be paying as high as perhaps 800 naira or more,
indeed,
for the product, but we are still buying at 600. So who is covering for the margin that is there, and all that. So
and right from the beginning, there was an estimation that it was going to exceed, the 620. So even with that, people are just thinking, what is happening in that camp? Is something being covered up? And if at all it turns out that the federal government is actually paying some kind of subsidy to cushion the effects, why are they hiding it? Why not come out with the transparency that they promised Nigerians to explain that, okay, this is the reason why we are taking this step? At least that would make, the citizens understand, to be like, okay, we're on the same road map, with the government. But the banter of saying there is an investigation from journalists coming out with numbers. I mean, there's an actual number. Even the Daily Trust reported the numbers of how much the federal government paid for subsidy, and then the APC are saying it's not happening. I mean, people can easily just go back and dive into more investigation to bring out these things. These things cannot be hidden forever, though.
They can't be hidden forever. I mean, is there even anything to hide there? I mean,
exactly.
It's just about us being straight with ourselves and being frank with ourselves. I recall that the presidential spokesman had also said at one point that after there were speculations that the price of fuel has increased and so on, he came out and said, well, the president has decided that the price of the product will not exceed what we have already at the moment. That's about the 617 naira and so on and so forth. So at the end of the day, subsidy was not brought back, but it came back by itself. It looks like, you know, it looks like it came back by itself. And so, but I mean, we have to be frank with ourselves. At the end of the day, there is no way around fixing the refineries here. If we are really to say goodbye to the failed subsidy regime, there is no way around fixing our own local refineries. There is no way around making sure that the product are available to all Nigerians. We have to take that decision, and we have to face it, and we have to live by it. Well, that's the much we can take today on Daybreak. We'll be saying goodbye to you now. We hope that you join us tomorrow again for another time on the program. I am Ayuba Ilya. In case you've missed, catch up across all our social media platforms and also on our YouTube live stream. Bye for now.
And I am Sumaya Abubakar. Thank you so much for staying with us. Please do stick around for the sports update. Do have a lovely day.